1953. The RMS Rose sank on that year. What happens if she didn't sink? Well, we're about to find out in this episode of Tiny Sailors. Now, before we get into that, I'll tell you a story about the RMS Rose in World War II. When the Philippines was getting invaded in World War II, the RMS Rose was sold to, the American lines. She would be under service for the American lines throughout the war. And I'm talking about it being a troop ship. Now, what was the name of the troop ship? And what did it look like? Well, the troop ship was named New York. And the ship would use its black hull still, but the funnels would be changed into full gray. Here's a photo. Now, after the war, it was sold back to the NAP lines, which it was reconverted back into the Rose, and don't mind. She was and the troops that left behind some stuff that was mostly garbage. It was cleaned up and thrown away. And now let's travel back to 1953 when the story happens. Now in 1953, the RMS Rose was in Manila dock, which was still recovering from the Japanese, but mostly everything was intact, so ships can travel in again. After almost colliding with some rocks and avoiding three other rocks and the small refueling at Hawaii, safe to say that trip was a long trip. Now she's at Manila, everything is going fine. She will later depart later next day. We will skip waiting and wait until it becomes daytime. So, here it is. 6 o'clock a.m. It was already morning. She was almost ready to depart. But there was only a few things left to do. Load up some cargo, and that's it. Waiting for another hour at 7 o'clock a.m. The ship was ready to depart after all the cargo was on board. She would whistle for a last goodbye.
States.
For New York. Her career will not change that much until 1972. They were bought from a small cruise line called the Vapor Cruises. The Vapor Cruises bought it for about 1 million USD, which, according to my maths, it's a lot. So it would be converted into a ship that they called the Cruise. Why that? Well, I don't know. It was their choice. But I will see you in 10 years for the ship to be completed. After 10 years, 3 accidental fires, 4 misbuilds, and 3 miscommunications, the Cruises was finally finished in 1982, with it being delayed 3 times of its completion date. With its first completion date being in 1980, then being moved to 1981, then finally moved to 1982. And it will later be hacked by a ship named the Quadranos, which was in disrepair. Quadranos was just beside the Cruises and was being sold for scrap. Quadranos isn't the thing we're focusing about. We're focusing about the Cruises. Anyways, as it was ready, it was towed out. Okay, anyways, it would be later towed out of the dry dock. But for 3 days, it was just lying there for testing of all the supplies, if it works or not. But 3 days. But after those 3 days, it was finally out for dirt. 2 old tenders that were for some reason still in service, called Orangey and Catherine, will tow out the Cruises out of its, dry dock. Then, small tenders will be detached. Then, it will run on its own power for the first time. But since so fast, it had to be super slow. So, when it's finally at its docks, it will wait 4 days before it will be used ever again. But sadly, it would be forgotten due to some super delays. But until 1991, it will never be seen ever again in usage. Almost everything in 1991 was covered in rust. The cruises was basically unusable at this point. With everything sadly that all the furnishings are in rust. But in 1991, sweet gentleman called Wilbur Ivins decided to buy the ship from the U.S. government, since it was now owned by the U.S. government at this point, because, well, it's rusted, and who will want a rusted ship? So the U.S. government just decided to own it. But Wilbur over here decided to change everything. He decided to make everything into a floating hotel, and with only a few engineers on his team and some architects, plus some workers to help renovate, he decided to do what he can do and went to work. His hotel would be later be finished in 1993, which we will travel there in 3, 2, 1. And now it's 1993. The ship has recently opened to the public. Everything seems fine. Since it was open to the public, many tourists have. And this ship had stayed overnight there. Plus also learning a bit about the RMS Rose. But due to the pandemic, less tourists have got the chance to be on the ship. this day, it's still open to tourists alike. But sadly, it will be closed down in 2016 due to funds being low. That was the story if the RMS Rose didn't sink. And yeah, that's basically it. My iPod memory might be down a bit, so I'm not gonna be able to upload this video today. Well, unless if this video uploads, that's a miracle. But anyways, bye bye.